Hey guys, I'm Matt Goldsman from GamersCast. Last August, OUYA set records, being entirely funded through Kickstarter donations and raising close to $10 million. It was the second highest grossing Kickstarter campaign of all time. That same month, I made a video defending the console from naysayers, explaining why, if executed properly, it could be a major step in the right direction for gaming. Now I'm here today to tell you whether or not my predictions were accurate last August. Spoiler alert, I was wrong. The premise of the console is simple enough. Make a completely open platform so indies can develop for a TV console without any restrictions. To make it appeal to the public, every single game on the platform is either free or free to try, with a very low barrier to entry costing only $99 for the system. With this, it's easy to see how a platform like this holds a lot of potential. Now here's where they messed up. Ordinarily, with every single review I've done up to this point, I'll take a product and show the pros and the cons while trying to be unbiased as possible. And if a product is bad, I'll try to prevent myself from going on an absolute tirade. But fuck this thing! From the menu, you have 4 options: play, discover, make, and manage. Let's start from the bottom and work our way up, shall we? Manage is supposed to hold all of our settings, but the moment you click it is the moment you realize just how lazy of an effort the OUYA was, as you are presented with the most bare-bones Android setting screen you'll ever find. And it becomes painfully obvious that the OUYA is actually a glorified phone when you see settings like lock screen orientation, adjust brightness, and enable external display. What's worse is because of this, options that a game console truly needs are sadly absent, such as being able to adjust screen resolution or determining safe areas of the screen. At the time of this capture, I was on a display that only supports up to 1080i, but the OUYA kept forcing 1080p, so I wasn't able to output the display to my TV and had to stare at a tiny laggy preview window on my computer during the whole recording. And because the safe areas weren't detected properly, when the OUYA does output the correct resolution to my TV, about 5% of each side of the screen is cut off. That is absolutely inexcusable. Also, right now it seems like usernames only exist on OUYA as a means of tying your purchases to your console, as there doesn't seem to be any sort of social system whatsoever to let you interact with other users. Moving up the menu, Make is mainly a section for developers, which I find kind of odd that it needs to be plastered on the main screen of a consumer console. It almost comes across as desperate, actually. But since it's for devs, we'll skip over this. Discover is where you find games to download for your OUYA. The setup isn't the most organized, but there also aren't many games on OUYA right now that you'll need to sort through, so the poor organization isn't too big of an issue. Downloading content to your console is pretty simple when the damn thing can detect an internet connection. I have an unsecured router sitting all of 10 feet away from the system, and the thing had so many issues connecting to it, it was unbelievable. Not to mention, after jamming the retry button enough times and it eventually connects, it can't seem to hold a connection for very long either. Oddly enough, the exact same thing can be said about the console's controller. The controller, while pleasant enough in feel and design, can't seem to hold a connection to the system for more than a couple minutes without disconnecting. Oh, and the battery seemed to run out pretty damn quick too. That is, unless the ones that came included with my system were defective, which is just poor form on an entirely different level. Luckily, the USB port on the back of the system let me plug in my wired Xbox 360 controller just fine, and it worked well. Though the bumpers and triggers don't seem to be mapped correctly, which is incredibly odd. What's more odd is the start button seems to be used to quit games, and the center button seems to be used to force quit games. It seems unnecessary, and often causes the console to crash, which is actually how this particular recording session ends. Yeah, that happens a lot. Also, I've seen another issue online that many OUYA controllers' analog sticks seem to have several dead zones where no input will be detected by the console, so if you take the plunge, make sure your controller works properly. Another odd thing about the controller is that when you power off the system, sometimes the controller won't shut off. And sometimes the system won't shut off. In fact, one time I thought I shut off the system, and it turned out it turned itself back on and was on for over a week, without me realizing it. Anyways, moving up to play on the menu, the games themselves play quite fine. The console is running on Tegra 3, NVIDIA's last-gen mobile card, so everything goes along smoothly. The apps that are here for the system seem to be just repackaged Android phone apps, and the only notable title available right now is Final Fantasy III, which costs $16. Though it took me a while to figure this out, because for some reason the single-player offline RPG from 1990 needs to connect to something before booting. I don't know what that something is, but it's connecting to something. In this recording, it miraculously connected rather quickly, though I found on many occasions that the connect screen would stay up for upwards of 10 minutes before anything actually happened. and it took a few days of trying before I could actually get the purchase screen to load. So, no thanks. I won't pay $16 for a game on a defective console. I'd rather pay $10 to get the same game on PSN. As it stands now, I can confidently say that the OUYA is a piece of shit. And it's about the size of one too. The system does have potential for firmware updates, so it's possible these issues will be fixed before the retail launch, in which case I will let you all know, but don't count on it. I'm sure they'll fix one or two of the problems in next year's second iteration of the OUYA that was already announced. They say you get what you pay for, and at $99, I sure as hell didn't. OUYA gets 3 out of 10. Fuck this.